Let's begin. Please join me in welcoming Mike Lee back to the stage.
Thanks, Leo. I'm real. It's good to see you again. Good morning. How's everybody doing? Day 3, we made it. We're about to make it. Great. All right, I want to start today off with, obviously, we had the 80-year birthday of the CIA this week. And I think today, and what I want to set you off on, is thinking about the next 80 years. I will be 126 years old in 80 years. My daughter, will be 85 years old. And I think about her a lot, too, because I think the next 80 years is not really for me or us. It's for kids like her and the kids that you guys have. And I really want to be conscious about what visions she kind of sees. I wonder what she's going to see that'll mold her vision of the future of food and how she'll eat and things like that. Because we've been shaped kind of implicitly all along from visions that we've seen from 80 years ago till now, all the way from things like this, the Jetsons, of course, one of the originals of the future. Carbs are back in the future. There's no more keto, apparently, unless, George is having that. I love that Astro is having a biologically appropriate raw food diet, which is good to hear. And depending on your point of view, I love the audacity of saying that there will be a newspaper in the future, which is really funny and entertaining. But then you have other ones that are a little bit maybe more dark or maybe serious. This is from 2001, Space Odyssey, which was, I believe, 1968. And this is, again, coming back to that loop that I set everybody up on, the Captain Kirk loop, because I think these visions that we see in pop culture and things like that really end up manifesting in real life today. This is not too far off from what we saw in 1968. By the way, in this photo, I did not AI generate this. This was just a free stock photo I found. Can anybody guess what meal this person's having? He's got eggs, a donut, and a pizza all on his laptop. So, the future is biodiverse, I guess, in a way. And then there's this, of course. I lived in New York for 18 years, and I raised the flag for New York-style pizza, and I gotta say, what kind of unhinged pizza order is this? Who gets half pepperoni, half green peppers, right? But this is the food rehydrator from Back to the Future 2, of course, which is my personal favorite. This is from Star Trek. This is the food replicator. Oh, we got a Trekkie there? Is this guy's name Worf? No? Okay, we'll take it offline. Send me an email. I was looking at that little bottle because he looks like he's got cocktails here, and I'm dying to know what's in that bottle. Like, is it like a Negroni? Like, are they doing pre-batch cocktails then? And is it an NA Negroni or a real one? Or maybe it's like a future bottle of Pappy Van Winkle, and I'm like, is that the 20-year, the 23-year, or like the 3,000-year-old one, right? So they're clearly having some fun times in Star Trek as well, too. And then we've got visions like this that are a lot more contemporary, right? WALL-E is one of my favorite movies ever. And these whole scenes about the buying large things and the people in the chair, I find so, stimulating because they're kind of like cheerily dystopian in a way, right? And the one little detail I love about this screenshot is little Wally. You see his little eyes right there just peeking at these people? I always kind of take from Wally, because Wally's never really judgmental. Wally's just always curious, right? And he's not like running off and writing like a 5,000-word Substack rant about all the stuff that he saw, right? He's just like really curious before judgmental. And I think that's a skill we can all kind of take as we go through today and just into the future and looking at this. But these things, I think, shape our reality, but they're also inspired by our reality as well, too. Now, these visions happen. And they can clearly affect real life, and I think they can also affect how things in the media go. And I want to bring this back to you because after we leave today, it's up to you to decide how do you do your own Martin Cooper, Captain Kirk kind of thing, right? What inspiration can you take and make real from some of the visions you've maybe heard today, but also what visions can you put out there Because I think we notice we might not be in the movie business, all of us, but the things that we do and we make noise about, they make a difference because people see them. And when some Hollywood show or movie hires a consultant to say, hey, we got to project a future world about the food, they'll probably research what you're doing and see it. And then that gets amplified, right? So it's really a call to kind of be mindful about what you put out there because you might get people copying it and might people love it, right? Because if we don't put these visions out there and kind of influence what the future of food should be, somebody else will. Somebody else will. So this collision today is really, we're taking kind of the head-on collision of like food and technology. And I've always thought something just interesting, because I came from tech early in my career. And in tech, there's this interesting dynamic where every single year you kind of expect like your iPhone to get better, right? This idea of version 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's kind of this implicit agreement that technology will improve as we go further into the future. I know that's not always in the case, but you never expect, the iPhone 19 to be weaker than the iPhone 17, right? But you collide that with food where, especially in modern day, where I think we're having this kind of general kind of back to the roots, back to more natural, back to more biodiverse kind of ways of eating, that sometimes collides with that idea of constant progress, however you want to define progress, right? Nobody wants version 20 of Coca-Cola. They kind of want Coca-Cola the exact same way it's always been, right? And there's plenty of foods like that people just don't want to kind of evolve. So I think the trick for us and the challenge for us is how do you kind of have one foot in the future stepping forward while you're still holding on to the things that matter in the past? I'm going to read a couple excerpts from the second scenario in Four Kitchens, and I think this scenario was really written with this day in mind, right? It's about an office. It's a company called Halcyon AI. They have a food intelligence system in their corporate cafeteria called Meridian. And I'm going to read a passage here and kind of tell this story a little bit here. By 2035, continuous biometric monitoring was standard in white-collar workplaces, woven into employer health plans the way drug testing had been tied to insurance a generation earlier. Most Halcyon employees wore a subcutaneous sensor, a grain of rice implant in the forearm, routine as a flu shot, feeding continuous data on glucose, cortisol, inflammatory markers, and sleep architecture. That sensor talked to the platform, Meridian, at work. That platform taught to the kitchen. And by mid-morning on an office day, Meridian had assessed every badged employee's metabolic state and generated a lunch calibrated to what their body required within the company's resilience constraints. The meals arrived on a conveyor belt system that ran behind a glass wall. Ingredients moved through enclosed stations, precision portioned by weight sensors, assembled in sequence, sealed and labeled, emerging as individual trays. The kitchen was clean, quiet, and almost entirely automated. Ingredients traveled through calibrated channels, sauces dispensed at calculated volumes, proteins cooked in precision-controlled environments that held temperature to 1/10 of a degree. A staff of 6 monitored what once required 30. In its first quarter, Meridian performed brilliantly across the metrics that no one had tracked before. Not just food waste and nutrition compliance, but supply chain resilience scores, sourcing diversification indices, and cost per calorie adjusted for climate risk. Catherine Park, Halcyon's SVP of Workplace Experience, forwarded the quarterly report to the C-suite with the note, "This is what best in class looks like." Halcyon's quarterly all hands. Catherine Park showcased the dining program's resilience metrics, sourcing diversification, waste reduction, cost per meal improvements, green arrows, upward trends, everything up and to the right. Big round of applause. Then, the Slack thread happened. "I eat at my desk now. My drone drops off pad thai in 4 minutes. Why would I walk to building 7 for a nutrient tray?" That's their cafeteria. "The cafeteria used to be the only place you ran into people from other teams. Now it's empty." Is that in the sustainability report? Scope 3 per plate is down because nobody eats there. Close the cafeteria entirely, and the numbers would look even better. That last comment from employees got 1,400 upvotes. And what's even more kind of damaging and damning here is what happens in this fictitious story is that the staff, it affects how the staff works. Executive chef Marco Reyes, he's cooked professionally for 19 years. His role had become custodial. He supervised a system that didn't need supervision and approved menus he had not written. The instinct that had made him a chef had no function in a kitchen where the formula was the point. In March, his best cook, a 28-year-old named Jess Reeves, who trained at the Culinary Institute, handed in her notice. She was leaving for Kindling, a restaurant group in Portland that was built around a 3-word promise: humans cook here. By 2035, human cooked had become a premium certification, the way organic had been a generation earlier. I came here to learn how to be a chef, Jess told James during our exit interview. I just monitor a line now. By April, 3 more cooks had left. Culinary school enrollment nationally had dropped 35% since 2028. The pipeline of people who could actually cook was contracting at the same speed that the systems replacing were expanding. The AI just hadn't automated the cooking, it had eliminated the conditions under which anyone learned to cook. Now that's a pretty dark ending, right? The good news is it's not real. It's up to you guys if that's real or not. It's much cheaper to have a horrible kind of failure of an implementation of a technology on paper than actually living it here. And that's kind of one of the points that I have in a lot of the story writing that I do is try to build a fictional dystopia to avoid a real-life dystopia. But they turned it around. This story has a kind of a happy ending because the chefs kind of worked their way through the system and they tried to breathe life back into Building 7, the cafeteria. They brought back kind of a live fire grill where people could kind of get right up to it and maybe it was just out of code, but you know what, they didn't care. They wanted to be human. They wanted to feel. They wanted to get people in the mix, smell the smoke, feel the char off a tomatillo as it goes into the salsa, see human hands cooking. There's still some robots and automation there. They just kind of find ways to complement each other rather than replace each other. We give machines meaning. There's so much in the headlines about AI right now. But again, like I said on the first day here, AI is not something that happens to you. If you don't like AI, you don't have to do it. That's fine. I use it. But I'm not an evangelist so much that I feel like we should force feed people to use it. But I think we should have an open mind and be like Wall-E, be curious before we become judgmental, and try to find a little bit more of what's possible with this. But we are the ones giving the machines meaning. We've all seen visions like this, and depending on where you're on this spectrum, I'm sure we have a whole spectrum of lovers and haters of AI and robotics here. But we've seen this a lot in our thing, and Flippy the burger robot. But I also think about things like this. My daughter, who's 5 right now in real life, we go to a local conveyor belt sushi place because she loves it. And this little robot who serves drinks is her first impression. We might have hang-ups here or there about a robot in the kitchen, a robot in the dining room, and things like that. But I would argue that all of these automations and intelligence, they might not be for us. They might not be for us. They might be for kids her generation. And I wonder how she's going to grow up because her first encounter with a robot in a restaurant was hugely positive. Ours is named Kirby. She knows the name. She gets so excited when she sees Kirby. She pets him. Those are many ways to think about robots in the kitchen, but I would also argue to challenge you this. One of the things that I love thinking about in the future that I think is a real indicator of what's going to stick in the future is in 50 years, 80 years, 10 years, imagine what might be boring. Because if you imagine what might be boring in the future, that means that's the thing that kind of sticks, right? Wi-Fi, like, if you explained to me when I was 5 years old what Wi-Fi was, I would think you're a freaking wizard. And now we just kind of like assume it's always going to be there, right? And I wonder what other automations and conveniences, like this blender, which is a robot, or the dishwashing machine that's a robot, or your Robocoo that's a robot, right? Maybe there's a more seamless way to kind of integrate technology that feels a little bit more like a blender and maybe less like a Flippy. The future of food is not a spectator sport. I want to leave you where we started. And all of this, you're going to hear a lot of really crazy ideas today, awesome ideas, ideas that'll push you and challenge you, but it's really up to you guys to deploy them in the way that you see fit, because the future is being written by you. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Mike.